You received a call from an inmate at the Department of Corrections. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, hang up.
Well, hello there, Miss Wright. How are you? Well, I am doing very well. Things are progressing quite nicely. So, I'm certainly not going to complain about that, that's for sure. Yes, I have heard about them. They are apparently um, celebrating their second anniversary. Yep. Yeah, I know. They met in prison and then moved in together afterwards and were able to get married. And so here it is 2 years later, and they appear to be doing just fine. Oh, yeah. That is the stigma. It's very rare that something like this would last. And I know I had one that lasted pretty long, and so I'm all for it. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, and I really do speak out against it a lot. But there are times people just beat the odds, and it's neat that those two were able to do that. You know, it does it does warm my heart to see when people do succeed, though, and even though the odds are against them, there's a lot that overcome that, and that's one of the things I'm looking for. I really do. I guess it's on my bucket list, you could say. I would very much like to meet a person who's in prison, marry that person while she's in prison, and then when she's released, start a life out here, and just let people know that it is possible to live a crime-free and community productive, relatively happy and drama-free marriage. It is possible marrying somebody who's gotten out of prison. And to see that happen, it's almost like you just want to talk to them. Yeah, kind of like a little counseling session or something. Maybe do an interview and see what it is. Well, those two shows, Love After Lockup and Love During Lockup, that's a great way to get an idea of what's real. Because I know these people contact real prisoners and chronicle real romances. And so
You have 60 seconds remaining.
people can get an idea of what's going on. And so this kind of stuff, yeah, I definitely want to talk about. Yeah, mine is brand new and it's going along quite smoothly. There's still some stuff I want to learn. I think this time around I'm going to learn about as much about her as I possibly can. And I think she has a pretty much good idea of what I'm about.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
Well, that's true. So I do appreciate the call, and it was nice talking to you. And I mean, if there's some romance or something going on in your life, I'm definitely all for that. Oh yeah, I'll definitely do what I can to help you get anything you need on the outside, like a marriage license or something. Well, okay. You take care of yourself and definitely stay out of trouble.
Thank you for using Inmate Call. Goodbye.
Well, hello, and welcome to AQS Inmate Call, and I am your host, Joel Wilborn. Now, in this episode, I want to talk about prison romances. Now, it's something I've tapped on in the past, but since I've had quite a few experiences with it, it's something that I definitely feel that I would like to share, and maybe it could help some people. Now, like what I said in the call, prison romance is not something I recommend to people because not everybody has the strong spirit to take that as a happy journey in their life. I do know that the people in prison, a lot of them have a really rough background. You know, you have a prisoner like Martha Stewart, and she lived a relatively crime-free life and didn't have that stigma of broken romances and in and out of jail and prison and gangs and stuff like that. The tough things that a lot of criminals have in their background. So for her to be an ex-con and to live her normal life, it's easy to just back in. But there's people out there and they're just looking for something. They're looking for love and stability, and it's just not there. And so when somebody comes along, and some people are gaslighters, and some are genuine, and they'll say things that these folks want to hear, and if they believe it and it's true, it could lead to a really nice relationship. But you know, you're talking to people who have very little trust in folks, especially people they don't know. And they may even trust the folks that they do know even less because they know their history, they know what kind of stuff is going to go on with them. So what I'm going to discuss about my past is I met a person who went to prison. And I was taking care of her daughter. And this woman just fascinated me. And I met her because I was doing undercover work for law enforcement. And I was with her while she was in prison, and then she got out, and our relationship grew, and we got married, and we stayed married for 10 years. And that was inspiring for me. And even though her nature didn't change as much as I had hoped it would, I got a little part in my life that was just very memorable and everlasting. And so having her in my life was nice. And meeting people who are in prison now, I don't compare them to her, but I certainly have a connection and I have a better understanding than I did before I got into that. And so the people that I'm attracted to are usually people who are locked up. And I kind of hope that our relationship will change things in her life and she won't become the return prisoner, you know, the revolving door. Kind of hope she moves on and finds what she needs in life to stay honest. And even though I run into the people that don't do that, they'll get into prison, they'll get out, they'll go back to crime, I still have that hope. And sometimes it takes more than one. It's like the old saying, you know, you fall down, you get up, and you continue on. And if you keep falling, it's nice to know that there's people there that will pick you up. And I've seen a few situations where the incarcerated person, they fall and there's nobody there to help them up. Or they fall 15 times and suddenly there's nobody else there because they're just tired of it. But an addiction, as any person will know who's been in a relationship with an addiction or an alcoholic, more specifically, they're tough. Because as my ex-wife, she said she was in a relationship once and she was just heavy in the drugs. And the person was talking to her about, why don't you care about me? I really love you. We can have a nice romance, nice relationship. But she told him, I love drugs more than I love you. And that was true. She didn't care about anything else but the drugs. And I've watched people fall out of an addiction and then fall back into an addiction. And it's sad. But there's people out there that try and they want to replace those drugs, or they want to provide the needs and the love and support that these folks are looking for. But there's times they're just too far gone. And it's 100% on them. And I tell folks, I can do things, I can say things, but it doesn't guarantee that the person's going to quit the addiction and fall for me instead of heroin, let's say. So I did have a relationship and was even approached by love during lockup. Or not love during lockup. Well, I was love during lockup, but not at that time. It was love after lockup. Because she was going to get out and they were going to see how that went. Well, we had a pretty good relationship while she was in there. But the addiction, and one thing about prison, the addiction doesn't go away. It stays in there, and the drugs stay in there unless there's some kind of effort to change that. And it breaks my heart that these prisons would rather consider these folks as criminals rather than ill folks. People who have an addiction, they have this desire, they have this drive, this need for this drug. And rather than try to break them of that and guide them instead of telling them and forcing them, they're going to have to come to it themselves. They're not doing it. I know one of the girls, Paula Gardner, when she was diagnosed with cancer, she said they weren't equipped for the counseling to help her out. And to me, that's extremely important. Even for the people that aren't addicts. Very good mental wellness, very good counseling and mentorship, and sending them to psychology sessions and stuff. I think that could help them. And a lot of the folks I talk to, they just want a family. They want to be loved. And those folks who get it, and I've seen girls get out, get pregnant, have a kid, raise the kid, in some cases get married, and they are very happy. But most of the time I see people, especially those in prison, they fall in love with each other, they have great plans, they're going to do all these wonderful things, and then something comes up. Usually it's another person comes along, there's a third party. So they get very jealous and very protective, and they don't want anybody else messing with them. And I know not to bring that kind of stuff up when I'm in a relationship with somebody who's in prison. Not like, I was talking to my ex-girlfriend, or I hung around my ex, we went out on a date, or I met this woman and I'm talking about her a lot. Because I would be promoting jealousy, and she'll think most of my relationships end in somebody cheating. And I'm tired of people cheating on me. I'm tired of people lying to me. I'm tired of people mistreating me. And that's what I got to come into the relationship not doing. And for me, it's not that hard. But trying to let them know that the work I do, when I talk to other women, And when I hang out with other women, it doesn't mean there's a romance going on or there's a reason to be jealousy. It just means that's what I'm doing to try to help these folks and guide these folks. These folks need to see somebody who believes in them. They need mentors. And that's tough to relay to somebody who's sitting in prison who is afraid that they're going to be rejected again. And a lot of them, they kind of expect it. So the relationship I'm in now, she's an addict. She says prison actually helped her, and she's not doing drugs as much as she did out here. And she's on the path to rehabilitation, which is good. But I can give her a new venue, because if she gets out and goes back to her hometown, her old drug buddies are there who could encourage her to go back. The drug connections are there. So it's easy for her to get the drugs. And that's not what I want. And when I talk to people who are addicted, that's one of their big suggestions. And I've seen people leave their hometown, go to a new place, and be quite successful. And so my current girlfriend, that's what she wants to do. She's actually considering moving out of her hometown and starting fresh. And if she's living with me and she's working, or she's doing volunteer work with me, keeping busy could keep her away from the addiction. But she's going to have to want to stay away. And I can't treat her like other guys treat her. So I'll talk to her about her past romances or things that broke her heart or hurt her or is lingering on her mind. She has a brother that just was deployed, and it's really upsetting her. And the things I normally talk to her with on in email, it just doesn't appeal to her. She will ignore it, or she'll give it one of those things where I slept all day and I'm tired and I've been working. It's more or less like an excuse to show why she didn't respond to my email the way I expected or in a timely manner. And for me, I don't see that as abnormal, because she's coping with it the best she can. I mean, she couldn't send it an email, but she could call me and tell me, that she's gotten back into using some drugs. Maybe she's doing cocaine in there or fentanyl. But she's gotten to that point where she's just really feeling bad. And that I can understand. And I'm not going to press that. I'm not going to hound her about it or put any pressure on her. And that's just something I have to learn. So if you connect with a person who's in prison and you feel that things could get serious, or this is something that you want to pursue for a long term, understand who that person is. You really do need to ask questions. You really do need to just communicate, to talk about each other. Tell this person about you and ask this person about past experiences or life in general, or what can be expected. And look for the strong points, something that you could help promote. Is this person a talented tattoo artist, or maybe a writer, or a photographer, someone who is a good teacher? One of the girls I just reconnected with, she's a teacher's assistant, and she wants to get into politics, and she wants to get out and help other folks, do kind of like what I'm doing. And I hear that a lot, but I don't see it a lot. But with her, there is that possibility. Because when I first hear it, I'm not going to just dismiss it. There is that possibility. And so I encourage it whenever I can. And when people do get out and they do, like they like to say, pay it forward, that warms my heart. And it's an ally. Because if I run into somebody that's very difficult to persuade or get to trust me, I have other folks I can turn to, and that's them. But people who are in prison, they're different from the folks that aren't because they have a very rough past. Something that you can't dismiss or ignore, but has to be a part of your life. You have to understand that. And I'm glad that my girlfriend is sharing with me. She says she's an open book. She'll answer any question, and so far she has. And I have no reason not to believe her. I don't want to not believe her. I want to believe everything she says, and I want to work with that. And they have a history, of being little con people. They want money and they want favors. And that's part of their survival thing. So that's what you want to learn. Is this a type of person who will use folks? Is this one of those gang leaders or gaslighters or manipulators or scam artists? You can figure that out on your own by communicating with them. But the main thing is just to communicate that. And I like that. Well, I like promoting that with everybody, because that's part of the healing process for them. That's part of the educational process for you. Because if you want to stop crime, you need to get out there and get rid of the motive that's causing this crime. And some of the motive is just these people don't know where to turn. They've given up on mankind. And you can see it on social media posts where I hate people. I don't want to be around this environment. I want to get out of this city. And they're just hateful. But it's because they've been getting hit every which way and they don't know how to deal with it. But you might have the answer they're looking for. And if you're sitting there talking to this person, if you go visit this person in prison and you're talking, or you're talking on the phone or a video visit, or even through email, something might pop up that you just ask more questions about it. And then as the person's answering those questions, thinking, hey, I didn't really realize this thing about me, and this will help me. And this is one thing that's been bothering me. And that's something that I heavily promote. And the Washington Department of Corrections really drove me crazy, because I was trying to send email and they would block me. I was trying to send snail mail and phone calls, and I wanted to help financially, especially with my fiance, and they were just constantly putting me down. And then on their website talking about how the value of loved ones and family, how that meant things to them, but they weren't promoting it. And so it's really easy for me to complain about it because I've experienced it. Relaying it from other inmates and other loved ones is one thing, but to actually sit there, and that's something, as a prison advocate, it's like gold. If I can talk about my case, they can't block it off. If I'm talking to Joe Smith, who committed murder, and I'm broadcasting his story and I'm advocating for him, and then they tell me that he's being punished and can't talk on the phone for 6 months, they could seriously hamper my story and my work. Not end it, just slow it down. And that's what the Washington Department of Corrections loves to do, slow you down. The good people, the advocates, the attorneys, the politicians, they aren't the ones that you just can hide in a closet somewhere. They're standing out there like a lighthouse. They're shining. And those are not the ones you want to have personal experiences where nothing can be stopped. A lot of times the loved ones, they just give up. There's too much going on in their life. They don't want to deal with it. But advocates, that's what they do. And so for me to go through this stuff personally, it's nice, because I can share it and I can fight for it when I know the full story. And a lot of times when I hear the story from the people who are incarcerated, it helps too. So if you can learn this story and you can share this story and fight for them that could be your contribution to reducing crime, reducing recidivism, to healing the country. And it's so simple. Open up in a Securus account. You can go to my Joel Wilborn YouTube channel, and you can see a few things on how to get into Securus, and just get in there and go online, look for people who are prisoners who are searching for pen pals, and open up a line of communication. See where it takes you. It might not be for you, and you might just say it was fun talking to you. This is not working, and that's the end of it. Or maybe it'll just be go from an everyday thing to a once a month to a twice a year or something. But the person at least has somebody to talk to, and maybe it still will help the person, although you just don't want or just can't devote too much time to it. And as for prison romances, if you see two people that's been to prison and they're doing well, that's something to praise. I know we don't have a lot of love for people who are locked up. If somebody steals your car, you're not going to want that person to have a very long, successful life. But you got to remember, if the person is caught, goes to prison, that's the cost. The lack of freedom, high fines, that stigma, that should be enough, rather than just constantly pushing the person's face in the mud or denying them a chance to get a license. That's not going to help. Showing them that they're important, and even letting them know you owe us. You owe society after that crime. And get out, get a job, and pay taxes to pay for the other folks that's in the prison. Talk to the people that are in prison. Advocate for them. That's a way to pay it forward. And that should make things happier for folks. But as I mentioned many, many times before, not everybody needs to be out of prison, and not everybody wants to be out of prison, and not everybody can be helped, even if they're trying to help themselves. But we don't know until we try. And we don't know what we get from trying until we start applying it to real world. Now, I really do hope that you open up some communication with a person who's locked up, maybe even an ex-con, or if you know somebody that's the husband, wife, the couple itself have had a bad history. Don't be afraid to compliment these people for making a marriage last or getting into a nice romance. And as for your own family, let's talk about it. Talk about the stuff. Watch movies, videos. Listen to some of the interviews I have on my YouTube channel. And discuss it amongst yourselves. See if there's anything you can do, what you want to do, or how you can help maybe get the word out to others who are willing to do something like that and help folks. Well, thanks for tuning in, giving me a big chunk of your valuable time. I hope you have a stellar day and make marvelous memories for tomorrow.